In this module, we're going to take a look at semantic markup. Semantic markup indicates that markup, HTML, now has not only syntactic meaning, but also semantic context meaning. Let's take a look at what we mean exactly by semantic markup, and then look at the elements that have been added, those that have been changed, and we'll look at a few elements that have been deprecated. To get started, let's look at an element that has been enormously simplified, and that is the doc type element. Doc type used to be fairly complex and hard to memorize. Now you simply say doc type HTML, and not only is that good for HTML5, but for all the revisions going forward. The first focus in semantic markup is on structural elements. Structural elements convey meaning about the layout of the page, the structure of your document or your application. The first two structural elements, header and H group, are closely related. We will also look at footer, also closely related, and then a new element, article, and its related element, section, aside, and nav. Let's start by looking at header and H group. Header is typically the first element on the page. If you have a fat header, that is a header that has an H1 and an H2, a header and a subheader, you can now indicate their relationship by using an H group. Note that headers can now be used in sections as well. Let's take a look at that fat header with an H group. Typically it will look like this, and you can see that semantically the H2 is now tied with the H1 as a subheader. Header is closely related to footer, and footer now is considered to relate to the nearest ancestor tag that is sectioning. And what that basically means is that you can have more than one footer on a page. Footers should contain information such as info about the section, who wrote it, a copyright if there is one, and so forth. But it should be limited to that kind of information. A new tag, and very powerful from a semantic viewpoint, is the article tag. Articles should be self-contained documents and pages and blog posts and so forth. One way to tell if you have a full article is, could it be independently distributed? And here are examples of article types, including, notice, individual emails and comments. Section is used in two interesting ways. First of all, you can section a page into subject areas. And secondly, you can mark sections in an article. But sections do not create a standalone document, and that's what differentiates them from an article. So you might have an article with a couple sections in it, and those sections provide semantic meaning within the context of the article, indicating how the article is divided. In addition to articles with sections, you might have sidebars or pull quotes or navigation areas, and these are marked with the new aside tag. The aside tag is essentially a way of saying this is related to but not part of the main flow. Now you'll notice that we marked nav sections, and those are now marked off with the new nav tag. But the nav tag should be used in a very specific way to mark navigation sections, but not to mark every link on your page or a list of sponsor links or search results. According to the spec, the nav tag should be used, quote, primarily for sections that consist of major navigation links. There are a couple additional elements we should touch on: the mark and time elements. Mark is used very much in the way that a highlighter is used on a document. The specification says, quote, when used in the main prose of a document, mark indicates a part of the document that has been highlighted due to its likely relevance to the user's current activity. Time is used to provide a very specific and unambiguous date time in a universal format. That format is year, month, day, optionally followed by a capital T, and the time in military time, or 24-hour clock, followed by your time zone. So for Eastern U.S., that would be -5 because we are 5 hours behind Universal Time or Greenwich Mean Time. Within the time tag, you can display the date and time any way you like.